Okay, on this video tutorial, we're going to move on to sections, which is, in my opinion, a very powerful feature of Phire CMS, and kind of one of the driving features to create Phire in the first place. The purpose of sections was to really create an easy way to group content, whether it's pages or files or assets, files, images, or events. They can all be grouped in sections, and that's very useful. If you have an area where, say, like a blog, like you want a blog section on your site, and you want to group those pages as blog articles, you can assign them to the blog section, and they'll show up there. With files, if you want to have a file repository where people go to this section and it shows all the files in that file repository, you can upload files and assign them to that section, and they'll just show up and it does all the work for you. Images, a great use of sections for images is photo albums. You can upload a whole bunch of images and assign it to a section that you've predefined as this photo album, and it'll spit out the thumbnails for you in an array pattern, however you dictate the HTML, and it'll do all that work for you, and you can order it, date by date, ID, title, whatever. So it's a very powerful feature. So the way that sections work, to get into, and we're going to do a simple version right now, just kind of mimic a blog section, let's say. So we go to add sections, and we're within that default install, so we want to go ahead and take that subpage template. Now, the cool things about sections is, and this is new in version 1.1, is that you can actually nest sections. You can have nested sections, and that's really useful. Particularly, I find it useful for photo albums. So you have like an area called photo albums that is a section, and then you have other photo albums that are sections, and you want those photo albums to be sections of the main photo album. So you get to kind of assign it in there and group them all together, and it makes it a lot easier that way. But obviously, in this case, we don't have any other sections, so we're just going to create our very first one. So let's call it blog, and it's going to create a URL for you. Now, every section has its own URL. The title and URL are unique. They can't conflict with the page title, page URLs at all. The system checks it out for you. Make sure you're not doing that. And the way it works is you've got the title, the URL, the short template, and the long template. And how those all relate is that if you go to the URL and you have 10 things that are in that section, it will now iterate over the HTML template you put into the long template and display those 10 things. If you want to show a little bucket on a page somewhere that says, hey, these are the last top 3 articles I just posted to my blog section, and you want that to show up in the sidebar somewhere, you can set a short template and then do a limit to 3 for that, and it'll just show the last 3 articles you posted. So the purpose of the short template is to allow you to kind of drop a little quick iteration of the last 3 things or whatever you set it to of the template anywhere on any page or any template. And then the purpose of the long template is to, when somebody does access the full URL, it iterates through all the items using the long template. Okay, so again, that's kind of the power of sections there. So for the short template, I'm just going to go ahead, and you remember, if you've watched the template tutorial, you are now familiar with the whole placeholder glossary, this is really where it'll start coming in. So the short template, I'm going to write basically really simple. Let's go ahead and just make it go page URL. Page title. And we're just going to break it there. You can actually contain the short template iterations. So like, say we want to do 3 of them. So if you got like 10 articles and the last 3 that you added, your order, if you happen to be ordering it by date, it'll show those 3 wherever you put the short template section. And you can actually close it in some kind of HTML if you want. You don't have to. So that's a very simple short template. Now on the long template, say we want to encapsulate it in some class, like blog item, some div class, like that. And we really just wanted it to be the same thing. We wanted to show the page URL and title, so you can actually click to it And so on the short one, we just want to have a short limit of 3. On the long one, we don't want any limit. We wanted to show all of them. And if you got something that just really starts to get long in the number of items in it, you can click the paginate, and it'll paginate it out for you based on your site's pagination settings. Sections as well can be public or private, just like pages. So that's important. And you can set your order ID here. So if you want to go date descending, you can set it there, or you can set, what some people like for photo albums, they want random pictures to come up. You can set, just ID random, whatnot. But we're doing a blog, so we'll do date descending. So that is our first section we've just set up to review. We have the section title, section URL, the short template, which just is going to display a listing of links to the URL and the page title, and the long template, which is going to encase it in a div with that class blog item, just for the heck of it, just to display. So we'll hit save. So now a section has been created. Now I want to add some pages to this section. So let's go to pages. The test page is there. All right, let's add that one to the section. I'm going to click on it, and we have our section area. Now we have the option to add it to the blog. So there we go, blog. And let's go ahead and backdate this a little bit just so we can start seeing. We'll backdate it a couple days. We'll hit save, and now we see that the section is the test page is now in the blog section. If we one of the quick features here, we're going to copy this to make a point here. I'm going to hit the copy feature, and it's going to start copying it over. Let's go ahead and copy a couple of them. So we've got 5 altogether. We'll go ahead and there's not really a whole lot to do. I'm just going to leave them like that for showing purposes along the titles and the URLs. They're all not live by default, so we'll go ahead and watch this. We can select the ones that aren't currently published, that are not live. Change publish status to yes, and now they're all live. So what happens if we go to blog? There you go. All of the pages show in the blog section, and we can click on them and get to that individual page, which they're all just copies, right? And if we go look at the source, pull that in over here, you can see that it's using the iterative template that we created, the blog item and the div. That's for the long template when somebody visits the actual page itself, the section URL itself. So that's what happens there. So a very easy way to group content together and show it in an iterative fashion if you have a group of content that you want to show. Now that's showing the long template and how they work kind of top level. Let's talk about that short template and where you can use it. This is pretty cool. If you want, for example, we go to the home page, and say, for example, you want under the main block of copy for it to show, hey, these are my latest blog articles, and you want that short template section to show, all you have to do is this. Watch. Go to sections. You see each section is assigned a unique ID, so in this case 7001. Now this is going to tie back in to the placeholders that we talked about, in particular the section placeholder right here with the ID number. So now watch this. We've got a section with ID 7001. Let's go to that home page and edit it. Okay, so after the learn more about us, I'm going to say, hey, check out my latest blog articles. Let's make that a heading, and then what we'll do is we'll add section 7001. So we do that, and then we go over here, and now that is the short template. Remember, we set it to show the latest 3, and the order of the section is date descending, so it's only going to show 3. And so we go here, and there it is. It's just showing the 3 of them. And if we look at the source, it's using that template, just the A tag with the BRs there. So that is the power of sections, is that, for example, in this particular case, maybe we don't want to put it there under, the main content. A very common place for it would be, let's get rid of that. Save. And like go to the template, the homepage template, and maybe we want to put it here under the latest news bit, So we go find where's latest news? Right here. Let's say we want to call it latest blog articles, and we'll just make it another H4 tag like that. And then we have the section there. So now watch what happens when we save that. We removed it out of here, and we put our latest blog articles right here. So, that's a very common way to very, quickly put a little bucket of, here's the latest 3, whatever, right there on the sidebar. Very common. So that's how sections work. It's a pretty powerful feature to allow you to group different assets together, like, like I said, pages, files, images, events, and whatnot. So that is the power of sections, and it is a very powerful feature of Phire CMS.